Oh, hey, alright guys, how are you guys doing? This is Tawsif from Relic IELTS, lead IELTS instructor. I'm really sorry, we've been having some technical difficulties with this whole live streaming thing. It's been going on for quite a while now. It's a bit annoying. I'm sorry I had to cancel the previous video because there was apparently no audio, but now we've got full audio, which is I think we've got full audio. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm thinking that there's full audio now, so which is going to be a great thing. So today's class, you guys, are going to be about the speaking module of the IELTS examination. In the past, we've covered the reading sections. We've also done bits of the writing. Task 2, I think last class we did, and we also did. Writing and reading, that's what we've done with nothing more. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about the speaking section. I know for many of you out there, it's gut-wrenching. For a lot of people, it's one of the most difficult things that they end up doing, and I can relate with that. I totally understand that the speaking examination can be quite difficult, mainly because it only lasts for like 15 minutes, but it feels like that you've sat through the exam for like, I don't know, 4 hours or something. It seems like really, really long. Well, I'm glad you can hear me now. I'm really sorry for the previous session because we had some technical difficulties, but I'm really glad that you can hear me now. Alright, so to get back to the whole speaking module thing, I'm just going to give you a brief idea about how the examination is going to be. So the examination is not going to be more than 11 to 15 minutes long. Whether you're sitting for a paper-based test or a computer-based test, the speaking is going to be the same in both these cases. Just because you're sitting on a computer-based examination does not necessarily mean that you're going to be speaking to a computer. It's still going to be a one-on-one interview type situation for both the PBT and the CBT. So, the speaking exam is divided into 3 parts. The first part is a conversation between the examiner and the examinee. So this is just a regular conversation amongst 2 people. The examiner might ask you about a bit about your past history, as in where you've gone to school, what did you study, where do you work, or why are you sitting for the IELTS exam, so on and so forth. These are just general questions. They might also ask you about, like your hobbies and if you like pets and stuff like that. They might just ask you normal, regular questions on the first part. This is not, as difficult. This is like the warm-up stage, right? So this is, not going to be as difficult as you might imagine. But then, so that's like the part 1 of the speaking examination. But when it comes to the second part, I think that's where all of us struggle. I myself often struggle in the second part of the examination, mainly because it's a monologue. So that means that they're going to give you a topic, which is like on a piece of card, and then like a piece of paper actually. So it's not card. It's called a cue card. It's actually paper. So they're going to give you that, and then you'll probably have 1 minute. So they'll give you 1 minute to think about the entire topic. Now the speaking topics usually have one main question and then a few other subsequent questions as well. And when you're answering the topic, make sure to include all of the information that has been asked of you in the subsequent questions. That is really important. They will also provide you with a pencil and a paper in which you're going to have to note down. You could note down. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to. You could do it. I never did, but I know a lot of people who does, and there is nothing wrong with it. So you note down certain points that you want to talk about within that 1 minute period, and then when that's over, the examiner is going to give you 2 minutes to speak about it. And for a lot of people, those 2 minutes are like 2 hours long, man. It's really long, especially if you're, sitting for the exam for the first time and you're totally nervous, and this can be like really, really long. So, 2 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, but I'm sorry, but they asked you about Chinese art, and that's not a common issue which we should know or we must know. I agree with you. When did they ask you about the Chinese art? Was it the during task 1? section 1, or was it like the cue card? Ariana Sheikh. Sorry if I got your name wrong. Yeah, if you could let me know, like, when they asked you about Chinese art. I don't think it's a common question at all. Did they ask you in the first part of the examination? Was it on the second part, the third part? Anyway, that's an unusual thing to happen. I don't know anything about Chinese art, so if they ask me, I wouldn't know what to say, to be honest. Anyway, right. So remember to answer all the subsequent questions as well. That's what I was going to get into. Those 2 minutes, it's best that you speak fully. You know, some people they say the topic for a minute and then they stop talking, and then there's this bit of an awkward silence where the examiner kind of just stares at you. Because remember, the examiner will run the recording for the entire 2-minute period. It's always best to keep on talking and not think about the time, and when the 2-minute period is over, the examiner will stop you, and I think that's the best way to go about it. Hello, Mr. MD Sabir Islam, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well, mate. Anyway, so like I was saying, it's best to keep on talking for those 2 minutes and not, yeah. Okay, what's that? Right. So it's always best for the examiner to stop you. So once the 2-minute period is over, they'll definitely stop you. Now, the section 3 of the speaking examination can also be a bit complicated, in the sense that they will ask you questions about what you've just answered. They might also ask you about various different topics. I remember, I think the last time I sat for an IELTS exam was in October of last year. It was a general training module. And during my speaking examination, I think the cue card I got was a situation where I had to travel with a companion, and then we had gotten lost. So it was somewhere around that. I don't remember the exact topic, but it was somewhere around that. And then I made up this story. Obviously, something like that's never happened to me. So I had to make up a story of how me and my friend got lost in Scotland when I was in the UK. And so in the third part of the examination, this guy kept on asking me like which part of Scotland I went to, and and he also asked me about, like I said, I left my car at a garage and then went to this hotel. They asked me like, why did I have to leave the car at the garage? So it's a conversation about the things that you've said. And this is the best part. And then the topic kind of changes. So they can ask you other questions as well. I remember my examiner asking me about, you know, traffic signals. And they kept on asking me about the traffic jams that we get in Bangladesh. They kept on asking me about if there was a sustainable solution to this problem. Then he also spoke about different kinds of pollution. Mr. Reza Rahman, can we fake the story? Of course you can. Remember, you know, this is not a truth test. This is a test of your English proficiency. So as long as you can tell lies using English, you're good to go. So of course you can fake it. And sometimes you kind of have to. I remember this one time I came across this topic and it says, describe your favorite piece of art. You know, nothing against people who likes art. It's just that I don't know what to say about it. Like if someone asks me about art, I wouldn't have any other choice but to lie about it, since I don't have any idea or knowledge about it. So yeah, lying is absolutely fine. Lying is absolutely fine. But make sure that you can follow up on your lies as well, because in the third section, they're definitely going to be asking you about the lie that you just told. So yeah, but it's not a problem as long as you can back it up with further lies. Lies to cover up lies, as they say. Yeah. So anyway, this can be quite gut-wrenching. The entire 11 to 15 minutes time may seem like 11 to 15 hours to some people. It's like really, really long. And then they end up with menial scores, such as, you know, like a 5.5 or a 6 or something after having to go through such a rigorous process. But it happens more frequently than you might think. So From this, we can understand that the test is actually divided into 3 sections. So there is the section 1 where they ask you generic question. Then we have the section 2 where they give you a certain topic that you speak about for 2 minutes. And then section 3 where they ask you questions related to the topic and unrelated to the topic as well. But remember, it's a critical discussion, a critical analysis sort of on the 3rd section of the examination. But, you know, the question is, let's say for example the topic was, you know, describe your favorite movie. That's easy. We all, you know, love to watch movies. If we were asked to talk about our favorite movies, we'd talk about it for 2 hours. That's easy, right? If you get the topic, then, you know, you could talk about it for ages and ages. But what happens when you come across a topic that you're not familiar with? It happens. It happens. Like I said, you know, they asked me about, you know, like art. I don't really get it. I'm not into art, man. I've never been into like museums to look at art, or I've never been to a photo gallery. They asked me this at the 3rd section, Ariana Sheikh. Yes. Did it have anything to do with your speaking topic? If it didn't, it's still possible for the examiner to ask you more complicated questions during that time. Okay, Mr. Reza Rahman, do we need to talk more than required in section 1? Don't do that. Don't do that, because the way that the examiners have the questions set, it kind of suggests that the answer should be like one-liners. Like, what did you study? So let's say for example, I studied business at this university. Okay, what was your favorite subject? So wait for them to ask that question rather than you going forward to ask them all these questions. It's always best in task 1 if they're like one-liners. That would be my advice. Anyway, so like I was saying, what happens when you come across a topic that you do not know? Now, there's this like really famous IELTS instructor on YouTube called Jay. I'm pretty sure that if they ask me what type of art, yeah, they might ask you, hey, listen, and if you know art, then speak about it. If you don't, then use this method that I'm about to say right now. So there is this like really popular IELTS instructor on YouTube called Jay. He's from E2 Learning Center. I'm sure all of us have seen his videos on YouTube. And in one of his videos, I found this method that he described as the Ppf method. That stands for past, present, and future. Basically, he uses this method to speak about a certain topic that he's not familiar with. Now, I don't necessarily agree with this. I don't necessarily agree with this method, but if you were to come across a topic that you're not familiar with, then perhaps you could use a Ppf method. You know, many of you may be wondering what a Ppf is. Okay, but your idea helped me a lot. Thank you very much for that. You gave me some tips, and that was so much. Oh, thank you, Ariana Sheikh. Thank you for the shout out. Really appreciate it. Okay. All right. So back to the topic again. What happens? You can use something that I've learned from this guy called Jay. It's the Ppf. I've never personally used it myself, but I can understand that there might be situations where that could be very, very useful. So let's say, for example, they said, describe a piece of art that you really like. Zero idea. No clue. So Ppf are different timelines. So there's past, the present, and the future. So what this guy is ideally trying to say is that when you're starting to speak about a certain topic, you talk about it in the past. Hey, wave. All right, so the past element. So let's say, for example, we were talking about a piece of art and the story goes like, so when I was really younger, so that, you know, is in the past. So the story goes like this. When I was younger, my father took me to a museum where I came across this really beautiful painting. I wasn't really sure who the painting was from, but I really, really liked it. And it was a beautiful scenery of traditional Bangladeshi cultural setting. I really liked it. Before that, I had no idea about art, but as soon as I witnessed that, I thought to myself that this is something that would interest me as well. And that is where the actual story stops. I think during this entire storytelling, we've wasted about 33 seconds, or maybe a bit more than that. Maybe a bit more than that. And then what we're now going to do is that we're just going to switch the timeline. So we've spoken in the past about how me and my dad went to this museum, but now we're just going to change it to the present timeline. So we're going to say that, so after we finish that, we say, recently, me and my friend, we went to another museum that is situated at a different location. This was my first museum visit since the last time. So there is this massive gap between the last time I went to a museum and this time. And ironically, I came across another painting that blew my mind. Now, this painting was slightly different from the one that I had witnessed previously. And this painting was about Greek culture. So it was a painting of a magnificent sculpture that was from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. I don't have the exact name of the artist or when it was drawn, but it was something that really boggled my mind, and I still think about it today. So see what happened here? We spoke about a situation in the past, and then we spoke about something very similar in the present as well. So that takes care of, I think, around 1 minute or 1.5 minutes or something, depending on how much you said or how much time you've taken to say it. And then eventually you go into the future. Say that, these two experiences makes me think that, I can really appreciate art. I've never actually thought about it, but now, now that this has happened the second time, me and my friend have booked various museum visits all across the country, so that we can go into various different places in the future and look at various different paintings, and then perhaps, learn more about it. I don't know. All lies, of course. I think the last time I went to a museum was the Natural History Museum in London, but that was a university tour. Otherwise, I would never go there. So that's the thing. I hope I was able to demonstrate the Ppf method. So this is where you take a certain topic and divide it into 3 timelines. That way you're telling the same story, but in 3 different timelines, and then you fulfill your entire 2 minutes of speaking. I don't particularly think that this is the most effective way of speaking. Like, I know some people who uses this method in almost every speaking topics that they come across. Whether they are familiar with the topic or whether they aren't, they're always going to be using a Ppf. I don't necessarily recommend that. So if you're familiar with the topic, so let's say, for example, if the topic was describe your favorite movie, go for it. Go all out. Talk about your favorite movie. Speak the truth. Okay? And if you're speaking the truth, you'll obviously have more content ready to say and not have to think about lies at the same time that you're speaking. That can be quite complicated. So, that I think this is a great idea where you could just simply tell the truth. So if a topic is familiar, structure it a little bit. Remember when the first minute, the 1 minute that is given to you to chalk down whatever, just make sure to kind of, have a beginning and an end to the story that you're saying. So the more structured your topic is going to be, your story is going to be, the higher chances you have of scoring really high marks. So yeah, that's just about it. Ppf is a method that should only be used when you're not familiar with the topic. I sincerely hope that this session was helpful. Shout out to all the people who are watching it live, and shout out to everyone who's going to be watching it later on today. If you are struggling with your speaking, don't be afraid, okay? Because most of it is in your head, really. It's not because you lack the linguistic ability. There might be certain lackings. English is not your first language or your mother tongue. So you'll always have a certain amount of difficulty speaking it. But I think with the correct amount of practice and the correct amount of guidance, this should not be a problem. So once again, I'll be coming in live every Sundays and Tuesdays, and we're going to be discussing all 4 modules. We've done reading, we've done task 2 of the writing, we've done speaking today. We're going to be doing some tips and certain videos on listening as well. And more to come on the writing task 1, and then other question types on the reading section, and so on and so forth. But like I said, if you guys were struggling, we've got this class thing going on here at Relic IELTS. Mr. Rizar Rahman. No, thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. So every Mondays and Wednesdays we host a speaking class here at Relic IELTS. We try to help out people from, you know, different stage of their English proficiency skill. We try to help everyone. We create a scenario where people get to talk a lot, and obviously it's me who conducts the class, by the way, in case you were wondering. And yeah, that's just pretty much it. If you guys think that you need more help with speaking, then please come and join us here at Relic IELTS. If not, then you could just simply keep on watching our live videos. I'm sure you'll get to know a lot more about IELTS. Okay. All right, so I think that's our time today. Thank you so very much for your lovely comments, Reza Rahman, and then Ariana Sheikh. Thank you so very much for being with us. I hope you guys stay well. Catch you guys soon, alright? Peace.